So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. I like to get going on time, and we might have more joining us, but that's fine. So I'm Loren Fisher. I'm a professional photographer. I started professionally in 1978, and I worked at newspapers forever. I do mainly fine art photography now, nature-based fine art photography that I sell at art shows up and down the East Coast, and do a lot of workshops. So I started working in Photoshop in the early mid-90s, and on the photography side, I'm probably considered an expert on Photoshop. And then when Lightroom came out, I took a look at it, and initially it didn't do much for me. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody here so we don't get any background noise.
I can watch that.
So, okay, so if you want to ask a question, you can unmute yourself in the lower left corner, and you'll be able to ask questions. So I started with Lightroom and didn't use it because Lightroom was designed as a database program, a way to organize photos, store them, and make it easy to find your images. They started adding the ability to develop changes to increase or to adjust the look of your photo. And initially it wasn't too good. The database was okay, but I already had a system going, so I didn't pay much attention to it. Then they started improving, and then suddenly about version 5, it was, ooh, this is getting pretty good. It is now great. I am at the point now where all of my photos go into Lightroom, and at about 85% of my images only see Lightroom. About 15% I take over to Photoshop, and that's mainly just to do massive cloning or removing of trees or something like that I can't do in Lightroom. You can do limited in Lightroom, but Photoshop handles that much better. So now Lightroom is, to me, the most important program for photography because it helps people organize and it helps them make their images look better. And especially people shooting raw need to adjust every photo that they shoot. And so Lightroom has forced itself into being almost a necessary thing for all photographers. Now there are some competing programs which I keep an eye on, but they haven't climbed up to the abilities of Lightroom yet. So I'm sticking with it for now and for a while. Lightroom now is sold only as a subscription model. About a year and a half ago, maybe it's 2 years, they changed from you buy the software and you can use it for as long as you want, and if you want to upgrade, you pay more. Now it is a monthly subscription. So they have a package for $10 a month, essentially, $9.95 or $9.99, whichever it is. And you pay Adobe every month, or you can pay annually, get a little bit of a discount. And you have your choice of 2 different packages. One is called Lightroom Cc, and to make things confusing, they call the other one Lightroom Cc Classic. So what you are seeing right now on the screen is Lightroom Cc Classic, which is what Lightroom has looked like for pretty much ever. The difference between the two is fairly substantial. Lightroom Cc is mainly an online version, meaning you store your photos online, although they now have made it so you can store them locally, but initially it was all the photos were stored in the cloud, and when you import photos into Lightroom, they went to the cloud, and you didn't have to worry about where they were on your hard drive or if your hard drives are filling up or any of that. Adobe takes care of storing the photos for you and backing them up, which is vitally important. The classic version is the original way it looks, and when you use that version, you store your photos on your own hard drive. In my case, I work off of a laptop which has a fairly small hard drive, so I store my photos on an external hard drive that holds 4 terabytes. The 2 different versions of Lightroom depend on how you use photography. I have found that those who shoot with the iPhone or are big-time Instagrammers or really want their photos up on the internet fast probably are going to go to the CC version. The CC version, let me see if I can bring that up for us also. I might have to unshare the screen. Let me see what happens here. Yes, I'm going to have to unshare my screen for a second. Oh, maybe I can do that. Let's go to that. Okay. Okay, so this is what the, oops, I hit the wrong button here, sorry. This is what the CC version looks like. So if you, let me just make it a little smaller in the screen. There we go. So you can see that it looks vastly different than the Classic. And Adobe says that the CC version is easier to use and easier to learn. And I agree to a certain point. If you're used to using the Classic version, then the CC is a whole new way of thinking and a whole different ball game. So I recommend to people that if they have been using Lightroom in the past at all, stick with the Classic version. The Classic version does more than the CC version. They didn't put all the features of Classic into CC yet. They will, because at some point, I'm guessing, although I've talked to the main person at Adobe who says there's no way they'll drop Classic because too many people are using it, including her. And she's stuck with Classic rather than going to CC. At some point, they may drop the Classic, but I think there would be such an uproar that they won't. So either version costs the same. And when you initially download it, you choose which one you want. And if you made a mistake and didn't like the version you got, you can call Adobe and they'll switch it over for you because they know that happens a lot. So one of the main differences with Classic versus CC is, again, CC, all of your photos are stored on the cloud. One of the cool things that they have done with CC is they don't have you rely on keywords as much, and you can do searches based on things. So if you do a search on, let's just try boat. Let's see if I have any boat pictures, if I spell boat right. It goes through the pictures that you have stored and actually looks at the pictures, and I might not have any boats, it's going slow, actually looks at the pictures and pulls up all your boat pictures based on what is inside the image, which is absolutely stunning to me. And it's pretty good at it.
Google Photos can do that too.
Yeah, other programs can do that too. But I mean, like this picture, that boat's pretty small in there, you know. They get it wrong once in a while. No boat in this one, but it's an island on the water. So, you know, that kind of looks like a boat. No boat there. That's a street in Guatemala. So the search function is pretty cool. The bad thing is if I want to do a search for my wife, I can't type in Robin and it knows what Robin looks like. If I show it a picture of Robin, it'll find all the other pictures that look like her. So I find that Classic is, if you're doing much work at all, Classic is the way to go for now and forever. You can share pictures back and forth between the two. So when you buy the Classic version, you get the CC version with it for free, and you also get Photoshop with it. And you get about 20 megabytes of storage in the cloud, so you do have a little bit of storage. When you buy the CC version, you get a full terabyte of cloud storage, but you don't get Photoshop and you don't get the Classic version. You only get the CC version. So if you are taking pictures with your iPhone, you can, or your iPad, or whatever other brand is out there, you can for free put CC on those devices, or actually as many devices as you want, laptops, desktops, whatever. And the photos are shared back and forth. So if you want to take a picture on your phone and you want it to appear on your iPad right away, you put it in Lightroom CC and you can have it immediately on both and on your desktop. Or if you have 3 desktops, or if you have a laptop and a desktop, the photos are shared back and forth because they're all in the cloud. If you, that's not the case with the Classic version. Classic, you can move things between devices, but it is much harder to have your whole catalog, and we'll talk about catalog in a minute, shared between multiple devices. You can share photos between your, say, laptop and your iPhone, but you can't share the catalog nearly as easily. Okay, so again, my recommendation is stick with the go with the Classic version if you are not a Gen X iPhone shooting. You know, if that's the way, if you had a workflow before, or if it's or if you've used Lightroom before, it's going to look like the Classic version. Anybody have any questions on that part? Okay.
Loren, you said that that you can switch easily from if you started out with the CC, that the switch over to the Classic is there an 800 number or an email or something that you send the request to?
Yeah, on Adobe, Adobe's pretty good with support. So their support area on their website, they put a phone number and they tend to answer it pretty quick.
Okay, great. And then what happens is you just update it, and does the CC version then go away, or?
Well, if you bought CC and went in Classic, you still get CC with Classic.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't. And I don't know if 6 months after you bought it, if they'd still talk to you. I don't know. I don't know how long they would honor that, but you know, they want your money every month. And you know, the bad part is, and what aggravates a lot of people is, you know, I used to buy software and I'd upgrade every other version because I found that they upgrade every year just to upgrade. If they had something good in it, they put it out, and if they didn't, you know, they still put it out. Well, so, you know, I didn't have to pay every year. Now I have to pay every year. If you don't pay after, you know, if you go monthly and you don't pay for 3 months, they will shut it off. You will no longer be able to do anything. When it first came out, they had it so you could not do anything at all with your photos, which was really bad. You couldn't export them. You couldn't save them to something else. You were just totally out of luck. Now they will at least let you export them to. So if you made changes to a photo, you can export it as whatever file format you want, or you can open it in Photoshop or something else. But but you can't make new changes to the photos. So if you toned it one way and you wanted to change that some way, you can't do that if you don't keep paying them. So essentially they have you for life at this point, which, you know.
Loren, quick question.
Yes.
You talked about CC and Classic. Yeah. How does that compare to Lightroom 6?
Lightroom 6 looks like Classic. And there are massive improvements to Classic over Lightroom 6. I'll show you a couple of things later, but there are just 2 or 3 things especially that make it worth the money in my case, and everybody that I've shown it to. It's the oohs and ahs that really help, and it's on the develop side. It's when you're improving the look of your photos where that really shines through. So
I have a question. Oh,
yes, go ahead.
So I use Classic now, and I don't have a laptop. If I got a laptop and I was traveling and wanted to, you know, load, the photos to my laptop, then what? Then I would have to be connected with CC, correct? I mean,
No. So, so the whole basis of Lightroom is it works off of a catalog. And so what you're seeing right now on the screen is my catalog. And in your catalog, you can have as many photos as you want. I have 63,756 photos. So you can have multiple catalogs, but you can only have one open at a time. So what people do who travel and use multiple machines is they'll create another catalog for the travel. And so say you're going on a trip to Iceland, you want to download your pictures while you're there to make sure you're getting good things, and you want to back them up. So you might create a catalog if that is your second machine. In my case, it's my first machine going with me, so I only have one catalog. But if it's your second machine, you might create a catalog. You can do all your adjustments to it. When you get back to your main computer, you will move that catalog to your main computer, and then you will import that catalog, the travel catalog, into your main catalog. And so all the adjustments you made, all the keywording you did, everything that you did before will be transferred into your main catalog. You can, like I said, you can have as many catalogs as you want. And when I started out, I had several different catalogs. I did a lot of photography of a bicycle race here in Somerville and shot thousands of photos every year. So I had a catalog for that. I was doing weddings at that time. I had a wedding catalog. I had a dog portrait studio, and I had a dog catalog. So I had 5 or 6 different catalogs, and pretty soon I realized, well, that's pretty dumb, because I have to remember what photo, I have to remember something. And the beauty of a database is you don't have to remember much. It does the remembering. So I then incorporated all my catalogs into one catalog. So that's why I have 63,000 photos in it.
so if you come back from your trip and you have it in the travel catalog, can you sort of integrate it with the catalog, with another catalog on your home computer, or
Yes.
does it have to stay separate?
No, you would then incorporate everything you had in that travel catalog into your home computer catalog, and essentially discard the travel catalog because you don't need it anymore, because everything's in the main catalog. If you go on another trip, you could create another travel catalog, or you could use the same one. It doesn't matter, but you would be literally transferring everything from one catalog to another.
Thank you.
Sure. So one of the great things about Lightroom is when you make adjustments to your photos, if you make a picture lighter or darker, or change the color or something like that, it's not working on your original photo. It is working on what Adobe calls a preview image. So the image that you see here is not actually, let me make this one a little bit bigger, is not actually the original photo that is stored someplace on my hard drive. It is a preview copy of that. And as I make adjustments, I'm not doing anything at all to that original photo. Why is that good? Well, that means I can do anything I want. And so what happens is it creates a preview, and it creates a file that they call, my brain just went out on me. It's a sidecar. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
Catalog.
No.
Huh?
It's a sidecar. Is it sidecar?
Yes.
Yes, it is a sidecar. Sorry. Whew. So you have the preview and the sidecar file. The sidecar file is just coding gibberish. If you could find it on your computer, you'd opened it, you couldn't read anything. It doesn't mean anything to you. It only means something to Lightroom. So when you go to print your photo, or you want to send it to somebody, you have to export it from Lightroom. So at that point, it goes and finds your original photo, and it says, here's all the information in our sidecar. We're going to take that information, grab the original photo, make now a full copy of that photo, and then do whatever you want to do with it. So what is great is, if you want to have multiple versions of your image in your catalog. So these two are the same photo. One's just a virtual image. It doesn't create a new file. It only creates a new preview and a new sidecar. So it makes it a very, very small file. It doesn't glom up your hard drive. It doesn't glom up your catalog. It just works very efficiently. So that can be a bit confusing, though.
Loren,
Yes.
I hope this isn't too beginner,
Nope.
but can you step back a second to, I have taken the photograph in my camera. How do I get it into Lightroom?
We're gonna get there in a second.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
We're gonna go through that step.
Okay.
Right.
So just a question, you have the 2 photos of that. Is that a virtual copy?
So one's a virtual copy.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So Lightroom is what you're working out of entirely is called the catalog. And like I said, you can have as many catalogs as you want. Mine is called Loren Photos Final 2 Page 2 because I've had too many catalogs. So when you create, if you're just starting with Lightroom, you just go, when you first fire it up, it's going to ask you to create a new catalog. So if you think of the catalog as like in the old library that had the card catalog. Everybody remember the old card catalogs in the library? I guess I haven't been in a library for a while. So rather than having all the books in one place, you had a card catalog where you could sort through and find what book you wanted. Then you went over to the racks and pulled that book off the rack. That's the exact same way that Lightroom works. It's not working, your photos are not in Lightroom. They are sitting someplace else. So if you think of it as a card catalog, and that might be where they came up with the word catalog, it is just a holding place for, if you think of the old library card catalog, it would be the same thing, except on the card catalog, it had a picture of the book cover, which they didn't do. They could probably do that pretty easy now. But so this is a database that will find things very quickly, very fast for you. So when you create a new catalog, it will be empty and not have anything in it. So the first thing you need to do is import photos into the catalog. Now, pretty much everything in Lightroom to me is logical and makes sense, except for 2 things: the word import and the word export. Because import implies that you're bringing your photo into Lightroom. You're not. You're only bringing in a little copy. But I'm a little nerdy, and I've sat around, I hate to say how many hours, thinking of a better word than import. And obviously, I'm not nearly as smart as Adobe people. I haven't come up with anything better. They didn't either. So you just have to think of import as not really importing your photos, but just copies of your photos. So you start out and you click on import in the lower left. And let me get a card out of my camera. So if I have a card that I took out of my camera and I have a card reader and I put it in, then I can copy images. So Lightroom is one cool thing is that before I had Lightroom, I would put my card in my card reader. I would copy the photos onto my hard drive, and then I would figure out how to organize them. Well, in Lightroom, you can do that all in one step. Lightroom will copy the photos off of your card to your hard drive and import them. Again, a bad word, but that's what they call it. Import them.
Loren, can I just, I'm still a little confused.
Okay.
So in Lightroom, we have the little copy. Then where is the original data?
We'll talk about that.
What?
We'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
Right now, it's not anywhere. It's on your card.
Okay.
So we're gonna copy them off of the card onto your hard drive. Okay.
But
So
you're saying if you do it through the Lightroom program, you're not doing that double step.
So the question is, I'm saying if you do it through Lightroom and you have it copy it, you're not doubling the work. Exactly. Your Lightroom is eliminating one step for you. Okay. So when you hit import, you get a different window showing up, and not almost all windows and modules in Lightroom are 3-panel based. So you have a left, a center, and a right, which is a radical way to name those. And they do change somewhat, but usually in the middle are the images. So on the left right now, this is under select a source. So if I'm importing, I will click here, include some photos, and it will show all the images that are on my card. So these are the pictures that are actually sitting on my card. See if I have any I haven't imported yet. Let me check that. Okay, so these are the images on my card. I don't empty my cards after every shoot. I should, I know. So, so on the left side, it's telling me where the pictures are coming from. In the middle here, it's asking, what do you want to do with those pictures? You can copy them. And when you copy, you're actually making a copy off the card onto a hard drive someplace. We'll talk about in a minute where. So you can copy them as a DNG. DNG is a digital negative file that Adobe is trying to make a standard. They're not succeeding. It's not bad, but it's not getting there. So you can ignore that if you're not a DNG fan. So then you have copy, move, or add. If you're doing the workflow the way I am, you want to copy your photo from your card to your hard drive, so you select copy. If you wanted to move it, either from, say you already put it on your internal hard drive and you wanted to move it to an external hard drive and you haven't put it in Lightroom yet, you can just hit move and it will physically move it off of one hard drive and to another. It will also sometimes let you move them off of your card, which will erase your card, which you don't want to do. If your photo is already sitting on a hard drive and you like where it's at, but it's not in the Lightroom catalog, you can just click add and it will add the photo to the catalog, but not change its location. Okay, so the middle is just what are you doing with it? So on the left, we have where it's coming from. In the middle, what are we going to do with it? We're going to copy it. Then on the right, we're going to tell it where to go. Okay, so here's where people get really confused and overthink it. Remember, this is a database program. As long as it knows where the photo is, I don't care. I don't need to know. So I can put the photos anywhere, and using other things, other ways to find them, I don't need to put them necessarily in subject folders. But I do want to make sure that I put all of my photos, in my case, on an external hard drive, because my internal hard drive is way too small to hold anything. It's full right now, and I don't have any photos. I don't have any video. I can't, you know, it's sad.
But if you have a big one, you could.
So if you have a big internal hard drive, if you're using a desktop and you have a big internal hard drive and you want to store them there, that's fine. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't matter as long as you're backing up wherever you're putting them. So in my case, I have a small little external hard drive. It's a 4 terabyte hard drive. I bought it at Costco for, I don't know, 99 bucks, which is scary. But I carry that thing with me every place I go. I have it backed up. I can't tell you how many different ways, all on hard drives. I don't use cloud storage because I shoot too much. So I copy from my internal, or from my card that I took out of my camera. I want to copy it to my Loren Photos hard drive. If I wanted to put them on desktop, I could select desktop. Over here, I have a choice of all different kinds of places that I could store them. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm on Loren Photos T4. Okay, let me just scroll up here a little bit. So now to review quickly again, we're going from my EOS Digital. That's the name of the card. I'm copying the images to Loren Photos T4. Now, where is it? Are they going on Loren Photos T4? Or if it was my internal drive, where would they be going? If you scroll down, you will see destination. It might be closed. So anytime you see a little arrow to the right of something on the panels, if you toggle that arrow, it will open up whatever's below it. So that's a little toggle open. So when I first started out, I started out with Lightroom. I put everything in a folder based on the date the photo was shot. I don't know why, it sounded good at the time. And I wasn't wasn't good at keywording. So then I would have to think about, when did I shoot that photo to find it? Anytime I have to think, I'm in trouble. So you can see here, maybe, that starting in 1998, I had photos. In 2013, I said, I'm not doing that anymore. So then I went to subject-based. So you can see I have a lot of subjects. And that is okay. A lot of people like to do it that way. Lightroom doesn't care. So if I was starting from scratch now, I wouldn't bother with the subject folders. I would just dump absolutely everything into one folder called photos and just put them there and let Lightroom do all the work. Because if I have to think, I'm in trouble. So if I have to, if I take a picture of a covered bridge in Vermont and a covered bridge in New Hampshire and a covered bridge in Pennsylvania, and I want to find all of my pictures of covered bridges, do I look under a folder called covered bridges? Do I look in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Pennsylvania? How do I find those covered bridges? I have to think. So subject-based makes it so that you are doing the work instead of the database. So I am now dropping things, usually, sometimes I don't know why, mainly old habits, into a subject-based folder. But now I just have a folder down here called photos, and I just throw them all into photos. And I'll tell you why here in a second. Okay. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. So remember that this is a database. We want to make it useful as a database. And so where the photos are doesn't matter to Lightroom. But if you put a picture on your desktop and then you drag it through the desktop onto your external hard drive and you've already imported it into Lightroom, Lightroom's going to be mad at you because it no longer knows where that photo is. Just like if you misfile the book in the library, if you put it 2 shelves below where it should be, and you look at the card file and you walk over there and it's not where it's supposed to be, you can't find it. Same thing happens. Of course, Adobe thought of that pretty early, and there's a fairly easy way to find it and tell Lightroom, here's where it went. But you don't want to do that to start with. So whenever you want to move a photo around on your hard drives, you do that within Lightroom. And it's a 4 or 5 step process. I'm not going to show you that tonight, but just know that you can do that. You can, and you should move it within Lightroom. It's just a lot easier than trying to find it later.
But there is a way to find ones you've lost.
Yes, there is a pretty easy way to find ones that are lost. It will be shouting at you, they're lost. Throws up a big warning sign. Can't find it.
How do you actually get the search bar?
I'm sorry?
How do you actually, so I have Lightroom CC, and I can't seem to even find the search bar that you showed us in the very beginning.
In CC, are you on a Mac or Windows? Doesn't matter. Mac is Command F. On Windows, it's Control F. If you do that, that'll bring you up a search, just like a find in Microsoft Word or anything like that.
So I'm in library right now, and if I hit Command F, I see, there it is. Okay.
Okay, good. So when you're importing, you have a whole lot of options over here on the right. One of the great ones is here called "Don't import suspected duplicates." So if the photo is already in Lightroom, there is no reason to put it in again. And so it is looking for the file name, the date shot, the is that all? What else? It looks at the metadata. So metadata is data about data, technically. So when you take a picture with a digital camera, it stores a lot of information about that photo. It knows what time you shot it down to the second. It knows what aperture you use, what shutter speed, what camera it is, what lens you use, what focal length you use, whether the flash fired. If you have a GPS in your camera, it knows exactly where you were. All of that information is transferred into Lightroom, and Lightroom uses it. in a good way. So if you don't want to import duplicates, you should leave that one checked. Now you're going to see when I check that, all these photos that we're looking at have already been imported into Lightroom. I meant to shoot some new ones, but I'll find a few in.
Could I ask a question, Loren? If you've shot in both RAW and JPEG on your camera, how do you control what it's being imported as?
It will technically import both, but it will only display the raw pictures unless you go into the preferences and tell it to display both.
Okay.
So the default setting is to only show you the raw photos. So those who aren't familiar with RAW, your camera shoots in one of two different ways. Either RAW, which is an uncompressed file, which is all the information possible to be gathered by your camera. JPEG file is a compressed file, which is smaller and has data thrown away. To compress it, it has to throw something away. They can't make it smaller without destroying the picture. So it's a lossy, they call it. You lose information. So you get much higher quality out of a RAW file than you do a JPEG file. And you can do a lot more to it in Lightroom or Photoshop or anything else. So if you're serious about photography, you shoot RAW. Some people will shoot RAW and JPEG because the problem with RAW files is you can't post a RAW file on a website. It has to be a JPEG. You can send it to somebody else, but they have to have an image editing program to look at it. So if you're going to send a picture to your friend, you need to send them a JPEG so they can see it, or if you're going to put it in an email or something like that. So if some people will shoot both, have their camera shoot both at the same time. So if they need to quickly send a JPEG to somebody, they have it. They don't have to go into a computer and convert it. I shoot only RAW. I don't double shoot with a JPEG. Well, I need to process the photo before I send it to them. So here we can see, down here on the bottom, that we can see a grid of photos. We can adjust the size of the grid down here in the lower right, where it's called thumbnails. By sliding it, we'll make them bigger or smaller so you can see as many as you want. If I hit uncheck all, so it's going to import the photos that are checked. So if I uncheck all, it's going to uncheck them. If I click on one, hold down my shift key, and click on another one in sequence, it will select all of them. And now when I hit a checkbox in one of those, it's going to check all of them. So that way I can import all of these photos. Okay. So let me make my thumbnails a little bit bigger again. And let's go one more bigger. There we go. So these are some pictures of birch trees that I didn't particularly like. So the reason I can import them again, because I deleted them off of the catalog, but I'm going to import them again anyway. So when you're importing, you can also make a second copy of the photo to another hard drive if you want to, which creates an immediate backup. That sounds like a great idea. The bad part of that is if you are like me and you shoot a lot of bad photos, along with hopefully a good one once in a while, I shoot a lot of bad photos. I delete a lot of photos. So even though I have 63,000 photos in my catalog, I delete 70, 80% of what I shoot. So I don't want to back up 80%, a ton of bad photos. So I don't make a second copy initially. I do my backup right after I get done working on the photos right away.
Can I ask another question, Loren?
Sure.
If, let's say, I shot a bunch of stuff with one card, imported it, and I'd like to get rid of a whole bunch of them, but I'm going to continue using the card. So how do I not, because then it just imports them because they're not a duplicate anymore, and it just puts them like in a strange place, and I got to delete them again?
Okay, here's what I suggest. I suggest when you import absolutely everything, even if you know they're bad. I don't go through and try to decide what's good and bad at this point. I do that later. I import everything, and then once the import happens, the card is ejected. So anything that happens now, you still have a copy of the images on the card before I make my backup. So then, in theory, once I have made a backup and I have 2 copies of the photos or more, I can then reformat the card, erase the card. So
there's no way, like if I have a pretty large card, that I can use it, download stuff and then go back and continue using it?
oh, absolutely. That's what's the case. So what you're seeing here,
Right, but then if I wanted to go through and, you know, delete some of them, they get imported again because they're actually not duplicates. But so is there any way around that?
yes. So what you're seeing here is a chronological version of the photos. So the newest ones will be at the bottom. So if you shoot more photos, they're going to be at the bottom of your grid. So you can uncheck all the photos and just check the new ones that you shot, and it will only import the new ones, which is essentially what I did up here. Follow me there?
No.
Okay, so these photos, so this is exactly, well, this is the exact opposite of what you're talking about. So say these photos are brand new ones, and there's other photos on here that I didn't, let me, so these, let's just say that these photos of the trees, and I do this all the time, and I apologize. I point at my screen thinking you can see my finger pointing at the screen. I apologize for that. So these pictures right here of these trees, let's just say I shot them last. They were the last things that I shot. Everything else on this card has already been imported into Lightroom. Okay, so if I click on the Don't Import Suspected Duplicates, you can see all the other ones are grayed out. So that means that they have been imported already. You don't want to import them again. So I can just select the ones that I do want to import now because they're new. And again, I'm clicking on the first one, holding down my shift key, clicking on the last one. Now I've selected just the photos that I want to import off of this card. So you can see there's some other ones here that I don't want to import at this point.
They stay on the card until you...
So they stay on the card until you reformat the card. And I highly recommend only reformatting cards in the camera, not in the computer. Don't let a computer redo your card or erase your card. Do it in the camera because things can get messed up if you do. Did that help?
I'm still a little confused. I'll...
So the answer to your question is yes. You can import only the ones that you want to.
Okay.
You don't have to import all the other ones that you already did.
Well, I know how to not import suspected duplicates, but if I've, deleted some, after I've been with them and I'm beginning to work on them and I want to get rid of some of them,
right?
Then I don't know how, when I do another import, they are no longer duplicates because I had deleted them. So Lightroom knows, oh, that's not in there. So then they throw it.
That's exactly what's happening right here. So on my screen, I have these grayed out. They are still in my catalog. I had imported this row of photos before. I deleted them out of it. So it's saying, okay, those are available to be imported again. So by hitting uncheck all, so initially if I didn't uncheck them, if I check all, see it says now those you can import. I don't want to import them. So I'm going to uncheck all of them, and I'm only going to select the ones that I do want to import, and I click a checkbox and that.
Oh, so you could do from
those.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. So as I'm importing, I can, if I want, which I rarely do, I can rename the files as I import them. If there's a reason you want to rename them, I don't have any reason to do that. But a very important thing right here is I want to, is somebody else doing this yellow arrow? I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know what that is, or green or whatever color that is. I can add keywords as I import the photos. Keywords are one of the main ways to find your photos later. So it's very important that you keyword every photo. Now that might take a little bit of time, and I have I have a person who I mentor who had a catalog with 80,000 photos in it and 0 keywords. And she said, I can't find my photos. I said, do you have them keyworded? No. Well, okay. Guess what you get to do now is go back and keyword all those. And every night for about 3.5 weeks, she said, she would sit with her husband on the couch. He'd watch TV. She'd sit with her laptop and keyword her images. And it took her about 3.5 weeks of, 2 or 3 hours a night. And now she can find anything within seconds. So if you keyword when you first can, you're in much better shape. So if I have a card full of different subjects, I don't want to put keywords on photos that don't belong to those photos. So right now, these are all photos that I shot in Chile of trees. So I'm going to put in keywords like Chile, if I spell right, tree. I put colors because I search for colors sometimes. What kind of trees were those? Bamboo. South America. I didn't put a comma there. So as many keywords as I can think of that cover all the photos that I'm importing right now. If there are different subjects and none of them match to anything, then I won't put any keywords on right now. I will do that later. And if it's multiple subjects, I will go in and add keywords later also.
You're doing batches.
So right now I'm batch keywording as I'm importing. Okay.
How do you go back? Because I've only used dates when I've imported, so all mine are in date order. So how would one go back? And
I'll show you that in a little while. So if you don't do them while you import, you can always do them later. Green arrows, weird. Sorry. So to recap quickly, we've told it we're going from my card called digital, EOS Digital. I'm copying them to Loren Photos T4. I'm going to add some keywords. I'm not going to import suspected duplicates. There are other options in here that you can do. Tonight I'm not going to tell you absolutely everything there is to know about everything. I'm just going to give you an overview of how things work. If you want to do them by subject, you can do that. So if you want to put them into a subfolder called trees, then where does that subfolder go? You have to tell it where that's going to be. So since that was Chile, I'm going to click on Chile, and you can see underneath there, maybe, that there is a new folder appears with a little icon on it, and the name that I just typed in is in italics and grayed out. So that is telling me that's a new folder going to be created, physically created on my hard drive in the Chile folder called trees. And that's where my photos are going to be placed. So that could be anywhere. I could place them anywhere, but I'm telling it, go to Loren Photos T4, which is my external hard drive, into a folder called Chile, and create a new folder called trees. So that's where the photos physically, my originally physical photos will be sitting. Now, I don't care. Lightroom cares. So as long as I know they're on my external hard drive, I'm a happy guy. Okay? And Lightroom's a happy program. Okay? So at that point, let me move this out of the way here. That point, I hit the import button. Okay, anybody have any questions before I hit import?
Looks like there are some questions on the chat.
Oh, there's some questions on the chat. Let me pull up the chat here. Thank you for pointing that out. Are folks amateur photographers? I would guess almost everybody is. How did you get the search bar? That must have been Natasha. Is that what we'll get to that later if that wasn't? Yes, collections. We're going to talk about collections too. Keywords, anyway, photos that were already imported. So is there, I'm going to reorganize photos already imported. Yes, we'll talk about that in a few minutes.
Where's the import button?
Pardon me? The import button's down here in the lower right.
No, we can't see it. Okay.
If your zoom is over the top of that, you can move your zoom window to the side. or make it smaller. Okay, so now when I hit the import button down here in the lower right corner, it is going to import the photos, and it's going to give me a progress bar in the upper left corner. And as the pictures start rolling in, why am I? Get that back on. There we go. So we can now see that I imported 10 photos. That's it. So this is the library module of the catalog. So Lightroom has 7 modules. The library, which is where the photos are organized. The develop module, which is where you develop adjustments. There's the mapped module, which will plot your images on a map based on GPS location. So if you have a GPS coordinates going to your photos, it'll show you a map of them. The book module will let you print a book of your photos, and you can do layouts. I think the map module is fun, but not overly useful, so I don't use that much. The book module stunk forever. The latest upgrade, they've improved that, so it makes it useful now. The book module, you can literally lay out a book, and you can put multiple images on a page, and you can rearrange them and however you want to do that, and then send it to either Apple's preferred printer, or they have plugins where you can send it to other printers also. Slideshow lets you actually create a slideshow of your images. It takes a while to process. It's not the best slideshow. They haven't upgraded that in 4 or 5 versions, which tells you how much they care about it, but they haven't thrown it away. When you go to make a print of your photo on a printer hooked up to your computer, you go to the print module. If you're going to send it to a printer outside and you're not printing it, you export, and we'll talk about export later. And then there's the web module, which I think they must have done that in version 1 and haven't touched it since. It creates HTML pages, which nobody does anymore. So the web module for me is totally useless.
But how did you get the numbers? My Lightroom has never given me numbers of how many photos there are.
That's a preference.
Oh.
In the catalog, that should be the default. Yes. So here in the library, I'm sorry, in the library, I meant to say, not the catalog. Here in the library, again, we have 3 panels. On the left side, we have the top is Navigator, which will show us the pictures in different ways. Here's the catalog, and there's several different things listed under the catalog. The top one is all photographs, and it tells you how many photographs you have. You can synchronize your photos to CC if you're in Classic. So that will tell you how many are synchronized. If you have errors, we're going to talk about collections here in a minute. And previous import, which is a great thing. So the last ones that you imported, there's a button, so you click that and you will see only the photos that you just imported. So if I click on all photographs, it's going to show me all of my photos here in the grid mode. Okay, so let me just show you a couple other things here on the left side first, and then we'll go into what's in the grid. So below the catalog is folders. Now this is your actual computer hard drives and folders. And why is my drive not showing up? Yeah. Getting winky on. So all of your system folders are showing up there. So if you want to move a photo around, this is where you would do it. You would physically drag, if you had a folder, a photo in this folder. And it's doing something funky to me, and I don't know why. So folders is the one place where you can screw things up. So I recommend people not open folders and leave it closed. It is one way to find your photos. if you're doing it by subject, you can look through the folders and find them that way. But I don't recommend doing it that way. I'm going to show you other ways. And the most fun one, I think, is collections. Oops, I just closed. Sorry. So here is what's called collections. And if you think of a collection of books, that's what this is. You can add photos to collections. You can base it on absolutely anything you want. And you can put as many photos in a collection as you want. So I have a collection here of all the pictures that I've taken with my 100mm lens. You can see there's 5,215 photos. Somebody might ask why. That's because I can. That's why I have that. But I have quite a few collections, but I don't put every photo that I shoot into a collection, because you don't want to have hundreds of collections, because then you are manually doing the searching again. You're not having the program doing the searching. So you want to have just a few collections. And the beauty of collections is, so say here's a collection of barn photos, my favorite barn photos. So if I want to find my barn photos that I like, I just click on that and there they are, that quick. If I want to find favorite animal photos, click on animals, there's animal photos. So
you physically took your favorites to make it easier for you to find them. But if you wanted to find other ones that you hadn't moved there, that's been keyworded.
Right. So the question is, so what's in a collection is something that you have moved there. You have told that collection to have that photo. So you either, I'm going to show you how. And if it's not in a collection, yes, you use a keyword to find it. Okay.
I made a favorite, but it's not worded like that. So it's a mess. It's just favorites.
Favorite, you might, yeah. If I had a favorites folder, you know, I'd be throwing, you know, stuff, you know, how many hundred a week into it. So if I want to create a new collection, to the right of collections here, I just click on the plus sign and come down to create collection, and I give it a name, Lightroom Test. I have several collections, so I don't want to do that. So if I've already selected photos, I can have it include the photos that I've clicked on. And this is how I sync photos with Lightroom CC. So you can't sync photos directly with CC. You have to do it through collections. So you can sync a collection to CC, and within a minute of creating that collection, it will show up on your phone or your iPad or CC or whatever you have. So I'm going to go ahead and create this Lightroom test collection. It's going to show up down here. It has one photo in it. So if I now go back up to all my photos, and let's say I want that photo in it, I'm going to hold down my Command key on Mac or Control on Windows, select that photo, and I want that photo in my Lightroom test folder. Now I have to find it because I have too many folders. Where did I put it? Where did I go? I thought it was at the bottom, but it doesn't usually. There it is, right there. So now I just click and drag right into that, right onto that, and you can see I now get a plus sign, and when I let go, the number now went to 4. So I now have 4 photos in that Lightroom test folder. If I click on it, there are my 4 photos. If I no longer want a photo in the collection, I click on it like that and hit the delete key on my keyboard, and it deletes it only from the collection. It is still back in your main catalog. So you're not deleting it from the catalog, only from the collection. So if you think of collections as literally a virtual collection, it's not a real collection. Remember, these aren't your real photos. So, you know, even if you deleted everything, you're not deleting your original photos, because Lightroom won't let you do that, right? So one of the other cool collections that they have are called smart collections. And you can create a smart collection based on metadata, because this is a database program. So if I want to have it find all of my pictures that on the, well, now let's go to all the pictures that I shot on capture date is January 1. Did I shoot anything on January 1st? I don't know. Or I can have it do is after January 1. Let's do that. So I can have it find all the pictures that I shot after January 1 and create that. So let's call that collection after, let's spell that, 1/1/19. So now it's going to create automatically a folder with all the pictures that I shot after January 1st of 2019. When I shoot more pictures and add them to my catalog, those pictures will automatically be added to that collection. Okay, so you can tell a smart collection because it has this little icon of a gear in the corner of the folder. So you can see I have lots of different smart collections and I have dumb collections. The thing that I hope they do soon to smart collections is make it synchronized with CC. At this point, you can't synchronize a smart collection with CC.
Why do you want to synchronize?
So why do I want to synchronize? So I carry around an iPad, and if I want to show people my photos, say my favorite photos from Italy, I can just pull up my iPad and say, look, here in Lightroom are my favorite photos from Italy. If it was a smart collection, the next time I go to Italy in a month and shoot more pictures, it will automatically add them to that collection. Okay, so now it doesn't. But I have smart collections, so that 100mm lens, that's a smart collection. I didn't manually move 5,215 pictures over there because any metadata or any data that's within the database can be used as a sorting function in a smart collection, which is very, very exciting. So, you know, I have a collection of of 1,425 photos that have captions on them. A smart collection of my videos, a smart collection of or just a regular collection of my 2018 favorites.
And that just separates them out. So if you use that keyword in labeling it, it would automatically put it in.
Exactly. So if you use a keyword, you can have it put in by keyword, you can have it put in by date, you can have it put in by what lens you used, you can have it any metadata, any data that's on that image, you can have a smart collection created by that. So I keyword all of my family photos. I have a family keyword, so I put family, Fisher family, and I created a family smart collection. That way, anytime I have a family photo, it goes into that. I don't have to do any searching. I can just click here and find the pictures that quick of family. And I'm sure there's ones my wife wouldn't want you to see, only because she's making faces like that. So, you know, there's a flower.
So you said if you make a new smart collection, it will go back in and...
Yes, it will go back to old photos. Correct. That have been labeled or have some metadata of some sort. Yes, that you've either added, you know, so if you want only your vertical photos. Okay, there's one with verticals that I've created. So again, the collections are a great way to, so you can have, you know, to sort out photos. You can have collections within collections. It's called a collection set. So I have a collection of travel locations. So you know, these are my favorite pictures from Chile. I was just down there in December scouting a workshop. And cheap plug, I just had somebody cancel on my workshop in Chile in July. We're going to be there for the solar eclipse. If you want to go to northern Chile for an eclipse, it'll be just fabulous trip. It's on my website. But here's my favorite photos from my trip to Chile. Show them one that makes people go, ah, okay, where'd it go? So, you know, I can scroll through them this way, or I can do searches. Get one in. There we go. So within the center, I showed you can have the grid mode, or you can look at an expanded view of the picture. So if I click on a picture and I tap the E key on the keyboard, it gives me an expanded view of the picture. If I want to see it full frame on the screen, I tap the F, and that makes it full. Okay. and then go back to the grid mode, I tap the G. So there are lots of keyboard shortcuts, and I can only remember about 9 for any program. But G and E, the grid and the expanded, are ones to remember. Go from G to E to G. So you can tell it's a synchronized collection because it has this little double-arrowed lightning bolt on the left side. So that means it's been synchronized. So if I pulled up my iPad and pulled up Lightroom and my Lightroom CC and iPad, these photos will be there. And as soon as I added another picture to this collection, it will automatically, immediately be on my iPad too. So,
Curious, have you worked on these?
have I worked on these? Absolutely.
Yeah, I was wondering.
You betcha. Yes. Okay. So here in the library module, below there are below the collections are published services, which almost anybody who has a large website that handles photos has a plugin that you can automatically or quickly send photos from Lightroom directly to that service, except Facebook. They suck. They had it and they took it off last summer. They stopped allowing it. But I can instantly upload pictures from my Lightroom catalog to my Instagram feed through using a published service, or SmugMug, or Adobe Stock, or Flickr, or almost anything that handles photos. They have a plugin to make it really easy to take photos right from your catalog directly to their website. So that's something that you'll want to look into at some point. I'm going to jump over here to the right side now. So in the histogram, so if I double click on a photo, I can make it in the expanded view. If I double click again, it goes back to single view or grid. So when I'm looking at a picture in the navigator, I can look at it in different expanded zooms, so I can zoom in on it. That's what I'm trying to say. So now if I click fill, it will fill the width of whatever window you have open, and then you can move the grid around and see it. You can click on 1-to-1, and that will take it to 1-to-1 view, so full 100% view. So if you want to see if you're in focus, fortunately I picked up a picture that I was. And they have a whole bunch of other ones here you can select to 1-to-8 or 8-to-1. You want to really zoom in on the picture. But usually I'm in the fit view. I'm in the fit view. There we go. So on the right side is the histogram. So a histogram shows you the tonal values of whatever image you are looking at. There's there's a lot of stuff out there about histograms. Most of it's bunk. Don't believe them. But one of the things showing under the histogram is your metadata about the image. So this picture was shot ISO 100 with a 200mm lens at f/22, and the shutter speed was 1.6 seconds. So that shows you that information right there. You can do some quick develop with some presets, and I still don't know what this green arrow is or where the hell it came from, so I don't know what's going on there. Is that showing up online? Yes, it is. So if you like some of the presets that they have built in, or you bought presets, or you downloaded developed presets, you can have it apply those to your photos. Oops, I hit the wrong spot. High contrast. Let's say we wanted this to be a black and white. Like that. I don't like that a whole lot. So remember, we're not doing a thing to our original photo. We're only working on the preview that we imported into Lightroom. So we haven't damaged my original yet. So the question is, have I developed my own presets or download them? I don't use presets because I find that I'm too individual on how I shoot. On every situation is so different that I don't do that. Some people like some presets. Some presets I think are good as starting places where you can make additional changes to that. So let's go back to default settings. There we go. Let's go back there. There we go. Okay. So you can do a little bit of toning right here in the library module, but you don't want to. You want to do that later. So if you want to add more keywords to the photos, you can do that there. Let me go get on photos that I wanted to play with for today. With my travel Lightroom demo. That way I know I don't ruin anything here. Okay, so it's loading. So if I wanted to add more keywords to this, I could, and I should. So moving water. Did I spell water right? No. So you can also see, it gives me suggestions based on keywords I've used before. When you first start out, nothing will pop up, but as you add more, it will give you more long exposure. And then you just hit the enter key, and so I can add more keywords there. Below that, there are keyword suggestions based on other keywords you've used recently. So I can just click on that. There was one there, waterfalls. I can click on that and it'll add that keyword to my keywords. You can create presets. If there's keywords you use a lot, you can create a set of them that will let you quickly add to them. And then you also have a list of all the keywords you've ever used and how many times you've used it. So you can also use this as a search function. So you can, if I wanted to see all the architectural building pictures I shot, I can just click here and it will show me all of them. I'm not going to do that because it'll take time. You can add all kinds of metadata here, caption, title. It shows you what time you took the picture. It shows you the dimensions of it, the exposure, focal length, all of that information. And there's a lot more. You can just add all you want to right there in the library module. Across the bottom, you have buttons to go from grid to expanded view. Let's go back to grid for a second. If there's two pictures, you don't know which one you like better. If you click on one, hold down the command on Mac or control on Windows, select two of them, and you can hit X and Y and decide which one you want. Now, if you're like me and your screen isn't big enough, and you've got these extra panels, you can close these panels on the side. So there's a little bitty arrow here. Click on that, that's going to close that panel. I've got something in my way here. That's going to close that panel. One of the other keyboard shortcuts that I remember is if you hit the tab key, that will open and close those panels. So just tabbing will close those. So when you close those panels, your images become bigger. You have more screen space, so you can see what you have. You can also do multiple pictures at once. So if you want to look at 5 pictures at once, select 5 of them, hit that collection, and you can decide, well, I don't like that picture, and I click on it. If I hit delete, it will take it out of that 5, doesn't erase it, doesn't do anything else, just takes it out of this view. Same thing, so I can just click on that one, and now I just have 3 pictures showing up. You can do, it does facial recognition. You can find one person and then click on this and it'll find a lot of other people. When you're in the grid mode, you can sort your pictures based on lots of different things. When the capture time, the order that was added to the catalog, last time you edited, edit count, ratings and picks we're going to talk about here in a minute, and all kinds of things. And you can create custom sorts. So right now I have it sorting by capture time. So when I import my photos, let me go to my previous import. Let's do that. So I import my photos. First thing I do is I go through and I delete the ones that I don't like. And I just go right, I do this really quick. So I do one of 3 things to every photo. So there are, let me take a step back. You can do star ratings for photos. So you can give a photo 1 star, 2 stars, up to 5 stars, and you can use the numbers on your keyboard. So if you tap 4, it's going to set your rating to 4. I started out doing that, and I couldn't remember if 5 stars is better than 1 star. I knew that a 5-star restaurant or hotel is better than a 1-star hotel, but I always want to be number 1, not number 5. And so I got confused about what's a 3? What's a 3-star? I don't know. So I gave up on the stars. I went to colors then. You can do colors. You can give it each one an individual color. And I had sticky posts hanging around my desk telling me blue means this, green means this, and I got too damn confused by that. So now I have simplified. I do one of three things. I either say it's good, it's okay, it's great, or it sucks. Okay. So when I look at it individually, I say that one's not bad. I'm going to just say that's okay, and I'm going to go to the next one. And I'm going to I can either do it through the film strip here on the bottom, which you can make bigger by I'm going to make a liar out of me. Come on, drag it. There we go. You can drag that up and make your film strip bigger. Or just the arrow key on my keyboard, so I can just arrow through the pictures like that. You can see why I threw these away earlier. Looked cool when I was there, but I didn't get it. So now I go through them about this fast, and I say, okay, that one's okay, so I don't mark it anyway. Go to the next one. That one I like. So I'm going to give that one a white flag, or what's called a pick. And pick, by tapping the P on my keyboard, makes it a pick, and it puts a white flag on it. I'm going to go that one. That one's too dark. I'm going to reject that one, and I'm going to tap the X key on the keyboard and give it a black flag. And so that sets it as rejected. So I go through my photos literally that fast. Okay, that one's okay. That one's a pick. That one's rejected. And now when I go back to the grid mode, my rejected ones are grayed out and have that black flag on them. And my picks have white flag. So when I'm looking at all of my photos, I can sort them by pick. And my best photos are at the top, or I can switch it, put them at the bottom by clicking here. So my best photos are at the top by, now it's chronological and pick. So the newest pick is at the top. So that is how I sort out my photos. And once I've done going through them all, if I go up under photo, come all the way down to delete rejected photos, that is going to pull up another window for you and ask you, do you want to delete the photos from the disk? Now, for me, the worst thing there is possible is having a bunch of photos sitting on my hard drive that aren't in my catalog that suck and just hog up space. So yes, I want to delete them from the disk. If there was some reason you didn't, you could just remove them from the catalog, but your original photos would still be sitting on the disk. If you hit delete from disk, it is deleting your original photos from your hard drive. If they're bad, why not delete them, right? So boom, delete from disk. Okay, I'm going to cancel because that'll take a minute or two because I just went through a whole bunch and didn't delete them. Okay. So that is how I sort my photos and how I determine what's good and what's bad.
So your no flags are this.
So my no flags are ones that they might be okay, and I might make them a pick later, and I might delete them later. So they're just, I'm not going to get decisive on that. Okay.
Could you repeat the words that the commands that you use for a pick?
The command for a pick is P.
Just P, okay.
Yep, so you select a photo and you just tap the P key on the keyboard, nothing else, just P. P for pick.
Thank you.
X for delete, or reject, actually, is what it's reject. You're not deleting it at that point, you're just rejecting it. Okay?
And that doesn't matter what computer you have.
Doesn't matter what computer. Yep. Okay, so that's the library module, which is the confusing and the time-consuming part of Lightroom. So the develop module is the fun part. This is where you make a picture look good. And let me find another picture. Go back to the grid, find the picture I wanted to work on initially. Okay, so if you click on a picture and you want to develop it, you can just tap the D key and that will bring up the develop module. And you have lots of things you can do here in the develop module. I need to move this out of our way here. And so on the left side, you still have your navigator. You have some presets, all the presets that we saw before. And as you roll over them, you can see what they're going to do to your photo. Pretty wild, huh? So that's the creative ones. There's all kinds of presets. You can create your own. You can download them. You can buy them. You can not use them, whatever. So you'll notice there's also a history. This shows you everything you've ever done to that photo. So this photo I shot and I've worked on before, and I reset the settings, so it went back to the raw, so you can see what it looked like as the raw shot. On the right side, we have our histogram again, and we have a bunch of tools here at the top, which I'll talk about in a minute. But first of all are your color or black and white sliders. So if I want to change the exposure, I just slide the exposure slider. And if I want,
Loren,
yes.
I have two questions. How much longer is the session going to go?
8:30 is scheduled. I'm hurrying.
Okay. And secondly, if I have to drop off, how can I access the recording of this?
I will post it on the meetup.
And
So,
I didn't participate through the meetup.
or on my website.
On your website? Okay, great.
Yeah. Yes.
Thank you.
You bet. So, so anytime you move a slider to the left, usually makes it less, right more. And if you want to zero it out, come back to zero. If you double click on the word, it takes it back to zero. It makes it much easier than trying to get it exactly. A very cool slider that is, if you're using version 6, you don't have, is the Haze. Look what that baby does. Woo! That one you can overdo. So a picture like this, I'm going to add some dehaze to it. I'm going to add some clarity. Clarity is the weirdest thing for people who ever worked in a dark room. It adds contrast to the midtones. Whoever thought of that was a genius, because it kind of makes the picture look sharper. If I add some vibrance, so vibrance makes the colors more vibrant. Saturation makes them more intense, more saturated. I hate to use saturation to say what saturation does. So on a picture like this, I can adjust the highlights, which are a little too bright. I can make the shadows a little brighter, so I can bring out some detail in the shadows. Most of my pictures, I like to have my blacks really black, so I just adjust the blacks, which doesn't adjust anything else. And if there's a color in here that I don't want to have, say I don't like the blue, I can come into the individual HSL and desaturate blue. Let's say we're going to do that. So you see this area around here where whatever building that was in Manhattan, desaturate the blue, or I can increase the saturation. If I want to increase the saturation on the sky, it's probably orange. So I'm changing the saturation on the orange. Or I can change the luminance, which is the brightness of the orange. I'll make the orange darker. Zero that out, or the blue darker. Yeah, blue change. So you can see how it's changing only the blue, nothing else in the picture. So you have a lot of control over what you're doing to the photos there.
Do you have any order preference to how you work?
Do I have any preference of order? No. Every picture is different, and
People say top to bottom.
it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So a picture like this is a church painted black in Iceland, and it looks like it's falling over. It's not. It's because of distortion of my lens. So if I come down here and do profile, I hit transform, and if I hit auto, it's going to do a pretty good job of straightening that picture, or that. Come on, straighten up. Come on, straighten up. Come on, straighten up. There we go. It'll do better than that. So,
is that the same function that you would use if you have distorted buildings, like all
yes,
the buildings are curved?
Absolutely.
Okay,
so there's what it looked like when I really worked on it.
Wow.
So I literally went from the photo looking like that to looking like that. And it took me about 3 minutes. I could do that in Photoshop, and it'd take me about 20 to do the color and the lightness and straighten it up and all of that. So let me find another photo here real quick for you that I want to show you something here. Okay, so a picture like this is the raw. This is what it looked like coming out of the camera. And I love to say that you know, a lot of times there's my dehaze. So I add some clarity, dehaze. I'm going to add some vibrance. I'm going to add some saturation. Not too much. I don't like to overdo it. I love to say that the camera sees something and I see something different. And I want it to look like what I saw, not what the camera saw. So if the sky is too bright for me, I can grab a graduated filter and drag that down from the top and I have individual controls over just that part of the picture. So if I tap the O key, this will show you the mask that it's creating. The red part is what's being masked off. And now I can just change the exposure only in that part. Of course, I'm overdoing it to show you what's happening, but I might just darken that sky a little bit. Although I rarely use exposure, I usually go to the highlights and just darken the highlights a little bit. But I could just increase the saturation in the sky. Okay. You also have a tool where you can do it's called the adjustment brush, where you can just select a certain area. Let me do a place down here. So say I wanted this corner to be darker. So I can just hit that, turn that off, and if I change my exposure, I can just darken that corner. Now, obviously, I'm overdoing it, but you have a lot of individual control. So it's local control and overall control. So there's lots of different ways to tone your photos. You can crop them. If you come across a picture that the horizon's crooked, click on this little gomer and click and drag across, and it draws a line. So let's say we wanted this water to be like that. It will, or we say, let's say it started that way and we want it to be straight. So I just click on here, draw a line across there, boom, now it's level. Okay.
I have a question. The other day I was trying to take a horizontal picture and make it vertical, and I didn't know how to do it.
Tap the X key while you're in the cropper. So say we wanted to crop this photo. So if I'm in the crop and you try to change the crop, you can't. It'll make so if you hit X, it will invert it. I just tap the X key while I'm in the cropper, and it will change the orientation for you.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to do that. Undo, come back there. So I want to show you something really cool in the few minutes I have left. So here's a series of photos I took of mountains in British Columbia. So if I tone one of them, they're all shot exactly the same. So let's say that one, just for hoots and hollers, is too dark. Now let's do something different. So let's say we want to make it more yellow and not as blue. So let's go about there. Okay. So that's not the way I would tone it, but let's say it was. So I have these other photos also. If I want them all to be the same, I'm going to tap back on my D key. So down here in my film strip, I have the first one selected. I'm holding down my Shift key, selecting the last one, and I'm going to come over here and click on Sync. And it will ask me what settings do you want to have applied to all of them. I want them all, so I'll just leave it all checked. And it's going to go boom, 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 boom. And let me make my film strip bigger. And you can see that now all of those photos are toned exactly the same way. So if you're shooting something and you're in the same light and same exposure, you can just go boom, boom, boom. And after you've toned one of them, change them all. It's a beautiful thing. So I shot this as vertical shots to make a panorama. And so while I have them selected, I can just go up under photo, photo merge, come down to panorama, and I'm not going to have it do it because it'll take time and we don't need to because I have the final output right here. So that's what it would look like after it stitched together all the pictures. No, that is not a new feature. Maybe in version 6, might not have been in 5. But that is a great thing. If you've heard of HDR, high dynamic range images, you can do the same thing. Select multiple photos taken at different exposures and have it put them together. Let me show you one here real quick. So you select, so these are photos, come on, give me that back, thank you. So like this bedroom, I wanted to get detail on the floor, but I also want detail in the windows. So I select those photos, I go up under photo, photo merge, HDR to do HDR, panorama to do panorama, and it will put them together. And there's the final photo showing good detail in the floor and detail in the windows, which you can't do in one shot.
So it automatically addresses any duplication?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yes. The limitation is if you have something moving in the picture, it can get confused by that.
And what if, like, the first one that you showed, the landscape, what if there are parts missing? It kind of just does its best to stitch it together.
It will
however
stitch together what it can find. So if there's something important that you cropped out in the later ones, it's probably going to crop it out.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Just wanted to I should put it in
So a lot more in the develop module that you can play with. So once you have a picture and you like it, so let's say we like this picture of Manhattan, I want to send it to somebody. I need to export it, so I hit export, and then I have a choice. I can have it directly email it, or I can have it saved to a hard drive. I can have it saved to burn to a DVD or CD if you have a burner, or if you have another program, it will export it to that program. I'm going to have it saved to my hard drive. There are lots of options. The size you want to make it. If you're going to do a JPEG, how much compression. If you want to rename it, where you're going to store it on your computer. All of that is here. And all of that is something that if you do multiple things of the same thing, you want to create a preset. So I have presets. So my blog, all my photos, the biggest photo I can have on my blog is 910 pixels wide. So there's no reason for me to upload a photo bigger than 910 pixels wide. So I have a preset that automatically will put them all in a folder called blog photos at the size I want, the compression I want, and the metadata I want to have added to it. And so all I have to do is select that, hit export, and it goes right out. Even more better, as I like to say, makes my wife cringe. If I right click on a photo, come down to export, there are all of my presets. So if I want to export my blog 910, I come here, hit that, and it goes. And you see up here in the lower upper left, exporting one file. So you have to export everything to have anybody see them. Everything that's sitting in Lightroom, only you can see them in your catalog. So you have to export. If you're going to print your photo to a printer hooked up to your machine, you go to the print module. I can spend a day talking about the print module and printing, and it's a pain in the ass getting everything lined up to make pictures really look good. If you just want to do a proof quick, then that's pretty easy, but lots of options there too, but you have to go through the print module. Okay, that is a very quick overview of Lightroom. Any questions?
Can we have a part two?
Can we have a part two? Well, kind of. I am doing a class on Lightroom. The first one is January 23. It's a 3-night, 2.5 hours each night, which tells you how long it takes to, but you'll learn everything there is to know about Lightroom almost. Starting on January 23rd, January 30th, and February 6th, which again is, you can either do it online or you can come to my house here in New Jersey. And if you're feeling good about Lightroom, on March 11, I have an advanced Lightroom where we really dig into, especially the develop module, on how to really make your images pop. But as an overview, that's pretty much what Lightroom does. To show you how to do everything requires a bit more time, but as to get a good feeling of what it's capable of doing is one thing. I hear a lot of people trying to learn Lightroom and other things through YouTube videos, which is great if you know what to search for. And so part of my goal for tonight was to help you be able to search for something. Oh yeah, he said something about it. How do I do that? I don't know. You can find a video. Adobe has a great series of videos done by Juliet. My brain just fried out on me. She is their evangelist, and she knows more than anybody else in the world about Lightroom and Photoshop. And she explains it in a great, Juliet Cost, K-O-S-T. Thank you. And so she is very good at explaining everything. And so search for her videos, and she'll she doesn't tech talk anybody. She's really good, which is, I guess, why she's their evangelist. So.
Hey, Loren.
Yes.
You might have already done this, and you probably did. Let's say this photograph you have up there.
Yes.
I want to save it to my hard drive.
Why?
No, I mean, do you want to save this preview? I mean,
no, you don't need to save anything until you know what you're going to do with it. So if I'm gonna send it to somebody, at that point I export it. If I'm just looking at it myself and I'm not going to print it yet, I just leave it in Lightroom. And so there's no reason to have a pile of photos sitting on a hard drive that you've exported out of Lightroom. I have very few. So if I need a photo again for something, I go back into Lightroom, find it, and export it again at the size that it needs to be for whatever use that will be. So, you know, I sell a lot of prints at art shows, and I print some myself, and I have some that I send out to other labs. If I'm sending a picture to a lab, I am exporting it again from Lightroom. I'm not storing it on my hard drive, because then I would have to find it.
The mentality of.
And how is it then being named if you're doing, you know, different versions or different styles?
Right, that's part of the problem of exporting. So you can name it when you export it, so you know what you named it. But if you name it and save it, and you want to go back to that file that you exported, you have to remember what you named it and where you put it. Which is removing the power of Lightroom, the database power. That's what the database is all about, is saying, here's where the photos are. Just make me a copy of it, and I'll remember where I put that copy.
But if you ever wanted to divorce yourself from Lightroom, then you would have to export.
If you ever want to stop using Lightroom, yes, then you have to export everything. Now, at some point, somebody's going to come up with a better program than Lightroom. As part of that, they will have to have a way to migrate from Lightroom to their program, or they won't be successful, because there's just too many people using it. So I'm not afraid of the subscription model, and that in 5 years, I won't want to use Lightroom and I'm stuck and I have to, because whoever comes up with the better program will also come up with the way to migrate out of Lightroom into it. Yeah, ON1 has, you know, some people like that already. They don't like the subscription model, and it has a migration tool. So I haven't tried that either. So what the question is, what is the best export option for prints such as 24 by 36? So you, in the develop module, you want to crop your image to whatever size you're going to output it, meaning the aspect ratio. So 24 by 36 is 2 by 3, which is the aspect ratio of a full frame camera, or a full frame of the frame of any camera, not just so any image made is a 2 by 3 image, unless you've gone in and told it to do something different. So you can tell it to do something different, but most of them are 2 by 3. And if you want to make a print that's 24 by 36, when you export it, you don't want to resize it. If you're going to send a picture out to be printed, no matter what size, don't resize it. Send them the full size that you have, the full size of the original. Don't resize it. Send them the whole damn file. If they need to make it smaller, they'll make it smaller, and they have the software to do it right. So send them the full size. If your file size is too small, your lab will tell you that too. So you send them everything you got, send them all the data you can, and they will tell you what works and what doesn't. Question, what previews do you build when you import? I didn't touch on that, but it's standard previews. There are ways to make previews where you can actually work on the photos without having your external hard drive plugged in. if you store on external, but just the standard previews are good.
One more stupid question.
Okay.
You have this picture up, right? We worked on it. I'm done with it. Now I want another picture.
Okay.
So I just open another picture and this one gets saved?
Exactly.
I don't have to actually physically say, save this picture, I'm done with it. I want to work on something else now.
Not a stupid question, and the answer is absolutely. It saves it the second or millisecond that you do anything to it. It's saving constantly, nonstop.
So from here on, how would I go open another picture?
So I'm here in the library mode. If I have this one up and I want to go look at the grid of photos, I tap on G. Oh, I got out of Lightroom again. Okay, so let me go back. So I'm in the grid. So if I want to find a photo, I hit Command F or Control F on Windows, Command F on Mac, Control F on Windows. And up here I get a search box. And so let's search for waterfalls. And it's going to say I typed it wrong.
What did you hit in the Mac to get that?
Command F.
Thank you.
Okay, so here's one of the things that's going to happen to everybody, and you're going to say, my photos are missing. Why can't I find any waterfall pictures? Because over here in the library, I am clicked on the Lightroom demo collection, not all photographs. So if you ever say, wait, all my pictures are missing, think, wait a minute, Loren said that's going to happen. They're there. Just go up to the catalog, all photographs. And now when I do my search for waterfall, that quick, I find all my waterfall pictures, and I'm doing a sort by pick. So my favorite waterfall pictures are right here.
So when you're doing a keyword search, it's not pulling, the only place it's pulling photos from is the catalog, not your hard drive.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Think of it as the card catalog in the old library. If you had a book on the shelf and you didn't make a card for the card catalog, you wouldn't find it in the card catalog.
How is it getting saved to the catalog?
Adobe Magic. That's just part of the database. It creates a database that sits on your hard drive.
One more question. I got confused again. So I'm downloading a card, and right now I just keep everything on my computer, but at a certain point, I mean, and it's backed up and stuff, but what if I wanted it to go directly to a hard drive? I'm a little confused. Because you said you put all your stuff, I mean, I'm not on a hard drive, on a, external drive. So
are you talking when you import or when you export?
No, when you're importing. So how do you not import all the raw data and just the the preview? Is there a way to do that?
It does. No, the program takes care of all that. You don't have to think about that at all. It imports all the data.
You just take it on faith.
Yes.
But if I don't want to import,
you do. When it imports the photos, it brings any data that it can with it.
But then if you don't want to keep everything,
it takes up no room at all. It doesn't. The data itself doesn't clog your hard drive. It's the image, the original image size that clogs up your hard drive.
But you said, like, when because you use a laptop, that you're down.
I don't store my original photos on my laptop because my laptop drive is only a 250 megabyte drive, and I have.
Right. So how do you do that? How do you?
So I put them on an external hard drive. I put all my photos on an external hard drive because they are what take up space.
And then how do you get the previews onto your laptop?
Adobe, the program does that. It actually stores the previews on the previews are extremely small. So it stores it as part of the catalog.
I'm confused as to physically what's plugging into what. If
Unless you're a computer programmer, which I'm not, you don't need to know.
But I don't understand how you're getting the preview on the laptop and the rest on the on an external.
Think of the catalog as the card catalog at the library.
I understand that, but I don't understand how when you take
so the card catalog doesn't have to be where the books are. The card catalog could be in the main library, and the books could be in a branch library in another town.
Right. But what I'm asking is, when you take the card out of the camera, how do you decide? How can you put the books where you want them and the card in the file?
So you tell it where you want the photos to be. The catalog will take care of the rest.
All right, so I have to go back to the import thing to figure that out. Okay.
No, you won't be able to figure that out. Trust me, that's all just part of the computer programming.
It's trusting.
I think some of the confusion is that when you're in the importing process, when you plug the card into your card reader,
right?
Lightroom asks you where you want to put it, and what they're really asking you is, where do you want to keep those files? And Loren, for instance, keeps his on an external drive plugged into his laptop. And so when it copies those files over, it doesn't copy them into the laptop, it copies them into the external drive.
So it copies them into the external drive, and does it automatically put the preview in the catalog?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's a one-step process, not a two-step process.
Thank you.
Does Lightroom only work on RAW files or JPEGs too?
I'm sorry?
Does Lightroom only work on RAW files or JPEGs too?
Both.
Okay.
Both. But you can do more with a RAW file than you can a JPEG.
Right.
I just did an upload, and I have the same question. So when I do the upload, it says, where do you want to, basically it's saying destination, and I choose my destination. I also put my photos in a hard drive, but then my catalog is not all of those photos I just imported. It says photos from a previous import, but then I don't see all of the photos I've ever imported.
So scroll farther up on the catalog here on the left side while you're in the library mode, and click on all photographs. So for instance, my previous import, I had 10 photos, and if I only was clicked on previous import, I'd only see 10 photos. So if I want to see all of my photos, go up there. See that?
It's still, it feels incomplete. It says all photographs, and it says 4,901, but I know I have many more photos than that. I have like tens of 20,000 photos probably.
Not in that catalog. You might have multiple catalogs working.
Or you may have saved to your hard drive and not imported them into Lightroom.
That is true too.
So how do I know the difference? Like I import them, but I import them through Lightroom.
If you import them through Lightroom, then they will be in Lightroom.
Yes.
So that means that you didn't. If you just did a drag and drop onto a hard drive, they wouldn't be in Lightroom. If you did import in Lightroom, they're in a catalog someplace. You might have multiple catalogs.
I see. Okay, I understand what I was doing wrong. I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I have another question. So now I'm getting the import. But now when you downloaded through Lightroom, but to the hard drive, and then you've got the card catalog, then when you come to export, I guess you have to connect the external hard drive, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Now the other classes, I assume this was lovely. This was,
The other classes are slower and more detailed.
Right, and I imagine you charge for them.
Do that step by step and make sure everybody knows what's happening.
And how much are they?
Uh-oh. I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
They're on the meetups and on my website.
Okay. Is there a limited number of people, or is it? Oh,
Not if you're doing it online. I have a
What?
limited number of seats in my house, but online, no.
This has been really great. Thank you.
fabulous. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll be back for that 3-lesson thing. I've already paid.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
There's a question on there. Let me just answer the question. When you edit the previews, can you edit the previews without the hard drive? There is a way, but in general, no. You can add keywords and do things like that, but you have to have your external hard drive plugged into to make sure it needs to access the originals to do toning and the develop module. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Night.